morning, students. If you want history, all right, everyone, stand forward. Thank you very much. Okay, so today, what I want you guys to do when you come in is I want you guys to take out your planners, take out your Chromebooks and go on Google Classroom. And then also, I want you to turn in your map and your map questions, okay? So turning in your map and map questions, get on Google Classroom, and take out and write in your plan. Just like that. Sound good? You may go in. Put off, please.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that? Not behind you. No, literally behind you. Go to. Like what I have in my video. So remember, we're coming in quietly. We're taking out our Chromebooks, taking out our planners, and we're turning in our map activity for Monday. Well, it's due. If you didn't finish it, you have to still finish it, but it's gonna be late.
Yeah, what
If you haven't seen it,
What?
that's a good question. I haven't watched it. Last time I watched it, I used to have one. And so I haven't, I don't think I've ever watched it on streaming service.
Look.
Up there. So guys, when you write your planners, it's up here on the board. We changed the schedule up here so that it's for like the upcoming month. So right up there is where you're gonna write your plans. Okay, so I have Suchi and Tyler out today, right?
Have you seen them?
Okay. So I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes just to get things turned in, get on to Google Classroom.
Yeah. I don't think so. You said
Here, I got a Band-Aid for you. Okay, so. All four on the floor. Yeah, no, so that's part of the brochure, that's part of the extra credit. So, everybody up here, I might give you guys the instructions for the day, so. Basically, what we're gonna do today is we are going to learn more about the geography of Egypt. So, earlier this week, we mapped out Egypt, so we were able to learn some physical features of Egypt and where some important cities were, where the pyramids were, things like that. So we got a sense of how Egypt looks on a map. Now, we're gonna go a little bit more in depth with a couple of videos and some reading to help you guys get a better understanding of how different physical features impacted their life. So our objective for today is going to be able to describe the geography of Egypt, including the importance of the Nile River. So we're going to learn about how significant the Nile River is. It is the most important physical feature of Egypt, natural physical feature. I would say the second is probably the pyramids, but people built those. So, that being said, what I would like you guys to do right now is Pac-Man your screens. Thank you very much. If you're working on the map activity right now, I need you to put it away. Okay? If you haven't turned it in, work on it later, turn it in tomorrow. Because we're past that, it was due. So now everybody should have nothing on their desk except for their Chromebooks. And the Chromebooks should be packed in. Cool? Alright, so what I would like to start off with is first, I would like to see how you guys are doing today. So what I would like, we've done this a few times before. What I would like you guys to do is hold up a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 based on how you're feeling today. So 1 meaning like someone passed away. Like I've been crying all morning, things are terrible. 5 being today's gonna be an amazing day, right? Straight Snoop Dogg day. Absolutely.
No.
So everybody go ahead and pull up, put up a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Oh, I see some 5s. Absolutely. Love that. That's cool. Awesome. Okay, so if you're putting up a 1 or a 2, put it into perspective. Think about, did someone pass away today? Am I seriously hurt today? Things like that. If you're not hurt and everyone that you love is okay, it's probably not a 1 type of a day, right? It's probably at least a 2. But I'm seeing 3s and plus, seeing some 5s, that's awesome. I love it. Myself, I'm probably feeling a 4. Earlier I was telling classes that I was like a 3 because I wasn't quite awake yet. Now I'm pretty awake and all my classes have been really good. So I'm 4 or 5 right now. I'm feeling great. So it's good to see how you guys are feeling today. Now that we're all feeling pretty good and we know how each other are doing, I want you guys to again take my 6 3 5 minutes, please. Thank you. So we're gonna start off by watching a couple of videos. These videos are based on Egypt and the Nile. So one of them is literally titled exactly that. And then the second video is based on the seasons of the Nile. So we'll learn about how their different seasons, they didn't have spring, fall, summer, winter. We'll learn what their seasons were, and they revolved around the flooding of the Nile. So everybody should be looking up here. Nothing should be in your hands. Screen should be Pac-Man. And let's watch a couple videos. Get our minds on Egypt.
The nation of Egypt developed in the northeastern corner of the African continent around the year 3000 BC. on lands where the mighty Nile River cuts through the Sahara Desert. The people of Egypt could never have survived in such a harsh environment without the Nile, for it not only provided water for drinking, its water also turned the desert into a paradise where plants thrived in the hot sunny weather. Every summer, far upstream in Central Africa, heavy rains washed large amounts of topsoil and plant material into the river. Downstream in Egypt, these rains caused the river to overflow, but each year after it returned to normal, a rich new layer of soil was left behind. Over countless centuries, this soil was deposited along the banks of the Nile. And where the river flowed into the Mediterranean Sea, it created a region of fertile islands called the Nile Delta. The combination of sun, water, and rich soil made it possible to raise excellent crops here and have a dependable supply of food. And having abundant food is what really made it possible for the great civilization of Egypt to develop in the way that it did.
Awesome. So, we're learning about different civilizations, and one common theme across these civilizations is that pretty much all of them developed near a body of water that affected the soil in the region, right? So remember we learned about Mesopotamia and how the fact that it was between two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates River, right? Exactly. So since it was between those rivers and the flooding from those rivers made the soil real fertile, they're able to grow more food. And if you have your civilization fed, you're going to be able to advance and develop and grow, right? And so same thing happened with them in Egypt. They were nearby the Nile, and the Nile had annual flooding, which made the soil much more fertile, allowed them to grow more crops, feed their people, right? Very, very important. And that's like kind of a common theme that you'll see across civilizations that we learn about. So, bless you. The second video I want to show you guys, and it might be cut off again. It's been like having issues. It cuts off literally not that much information. It gets you all the important stuff, but it has a playback.
Frustration.
Yeah, it just has a little playback frustration issue. But we'll get pretty much everything I want you to get from this video. We'll see. So don't worry. So this is on the seasons of the Nile. Gonna hear from our favorite scribe.
Egyptians are always coming up with solutions to complicated problems. For instance, the Nile's floodwaters are so important that we developed a way to predict when they would arrive. We watch the moon and stars very carefully in order to keep track of the river's rise and fall. Out of that, we created a really accurate calendar with 365 days. The Sumerians only have 360 days in their calendar. However, New Year starts with the first day of the flood, when the star Sirius rises directly with the sun. Then we have 4 months of autumn, the time of flooding. 4 months of Purim, the time of sowing, when the river recedes. And 4 months of Shimmer, the time of harvest and heat.
To see how all the
seasons
seasons literally revolve around the flooding of the Nile.
But not only did we figure out when the Nile was going to flood, we also figured out how well it would flood. We built a Nileometer to keep track. It measures the water level at all times, letting us know the best height for the incoming floods. If the flood is too low, we don't have enough water for our crops. If the flood is too high, everything washes away. Lucky for us, most years the Nile floods are just right. We can grow all kinds of crops, like barley, wheat, flax, vegetables, and fruits.
Remember flax was that,
Yes,
plant
we've
that
been
we
farming
did,
like this for
uh,
thousands of years. That makes us very experienced and well-organized farmers. If the floods are good, it's easy to grow enough food for everyone. And that frees up time for us to work on other projects, like building cities and temples. We couldn't do any of that if it was hard to grow food and we were hungry. So thanks to the Nile, we have a land of abundance. That's what Dad means when he calls Egypt the gift of the Nile. Speaking of Dad, where is he? I'm ready to start this boat down the river. We're going from Thebes down to Tanis, where Pharaoh Ramses lives, to deliver some important documents.
and yeah, that's what I understand. So, so from that video, we learned about a few of the seasons, right? And how the Nile was so important that they literally base their seasons of the year off of when it floods and how long it floods, and when their opportunity for sowing out their seeds and harvesting their crops is, right? So very, very significant in their lives, just this one river. Imagine like one river being meaning that much to your society, right? Kind of interesting. So, what I would like you guys to do now is you guys can open up your Chromebooks again, and you guys should have the geography of Egypt open. So if you didn't get a chance to open that up before we packed into our screens, go ahead and get that open now. It is classwork on Google Classroom. So. The directions for this assignment. This is a very similar reading assignment to what we've done in the past. Okay, so we've had a lot of documents like this before where we read a couple paragraphs, we annotate them, we do our gist, and then we answer some questions, right? So it's not really new to us. However, I'm gonna do some of it with you guys, then we'll do some together, and then after, then I'll let you guys do it yourselves. Okay, that way we still get some nice learning in sequence like that. So what I want you guys to do is read and annotate this document with me. We're providing our 5 to 6 word gist for each paragraph. You're gonna do that as a comment, just like how we have in the past. Also, answer the questions for each section directly under the question and in a different font color so that I can easily read it when I go to grade. So, for example, here's how you would answer a question. You would do your annotations here, write your comment, then down here, oh, there's a question. Let me go right below it, like the directions say. Then I'm gonna change my font color to something that's easy to read, just not black, so it's different. I'm gonna go purple, and then I would type in my answer there. Make sense? Solid answer, right? So that's how we're gonna do it, and I'll show you guys again, when we do it together. So, what I would like you guys to do right now is follow along with me and annotate with me. We'll do a gist together. We'll do a answer to the question together. Then we'll move on. And then you guys will do it yourselves. Sound good? So everybody should be following along with me on this document. Okay. Egypt is located in the northeastern portion of Africa. I'm going to highlight that. Northeastern portion of Africa. That tells me right where it is. It borders the countries of Libya to the west, Sudan to the south, and Israel to the northeast. The Mediterranean Sea lies to the north and the Gulf of Aqaba is to the east. I'm going to highlight from there to there. Because that gives us a lot of points of reference, right? Remember how on our maps earlier this week, there was other countries other than Egypt on there? So those are some of the other countries that were on there, as well as some of the bodies of water. The southern portion of Egypt lies almost on the Tropic of Cancer, or about 23 degrees latitude north. Most of the major cities in Egypt are located around 30 degrees longitude east. Latitude measurements refer to north and south distances from the equator, and longitude measurements refer to east and west distances from the prime meridian. So that's a quick little lesson about latitude and longitude. Who's ever heard of latitude and longitude before? Oh, a few of you have. Okay. So yeah, latitude and longitude are basically that's how GPS works. So like in order to find an exact spot on the earth, how many of you guys have seen on like Google Earth or on a globe has all those lines going up and to the side? So those are the latitude and longitude lines. And by pinpointing, okay, this many degrees up on the globe and this many degrees to the left or right on the globe, right? That exact point we can map. And so latitude and longitude helps us map out specific points on the globe. And you guys will learn more about how to use latitude and longitude and how to read it as you guys get older. But here's a quick little intro for you. Cool. Because Egypt is so close to the equator, its climate is generally warm all year. I'm going to highlight that. That sounds important. Very cool. So, the equator is the warmest part of the earth. It's right in the middle. The closer you are to the equator, the warmer it's going to be. And it's going to be warmer more of the year. So that really affects the climate. Now, we have a map here. I included a nice visual map so that you guys can see again what some of the physical features of Egypt look like. And you guys have some of these on the map that you guys did earlier this week. So for example, you guys know about Sinai. You guys mapped out Alexandria and Upper and Lower Egypt. You guys had the Red Sea. What you guys didn't have was, for example, the Sahara and Arabian deserts, right? Some of these other cities, the Valley of the Kings, these are some new things for you to learn. So that just helps you get another idea of what it looks like, and it helps you answer this next question. So, what do we have to do for every paragraph? Okay, absolutely. So what I'm gonna do, add a comment. And for this one, does anybody have a good gist for this one? Yeah, Xander. Brendan. Okay, we need 5 and 6. What's your word? We'll see if we can start there. All right. So how about Egypt? Egypt warm because of the equator. How about that? So there, now we got a gist. Now we have our, and if this happens, that's fine. I understand that happens sometimes when you comment. So. We have our annotations. We have our important things highlighted. We have our gist, 5 to 6 words. Now, what's the next thing we have to do? Answer a question. So, we're going to go right under this question, just like last time. We are going to choose a new font color. What do we always start a sentence with? A sentence starter, very good. So, we can write, for example, according to the text. Then, what's the next step in answering the question? We rephrase the question. Very good, Jeremy. I appreciate it. So, I would describe the location of Egypt. Then we gotta answer the question, right? So, I would describe the location of Egypt as close to the equator. Egypt is also near deserts and to so now we have a good answer with a sentence starter. We've rephrased our question. We've answered the question. We've used correct punctuation and grammar. So that would be a 4 answer right there. That would definitely get you guys a 4 for your homework. So let's do this next one together. I'll give you guys about 60 more seconds to get that down. Okay. You have a question? Awesome. So we've got our gist, we've got our annotations, we have our question fully answered in a great way. Let's move on to the next one. Vincent, I'm gonna move on. Can I bring it over to you in a minute and we'll work on it together? Okay, I'm just gonna move on for everyone else and then I'll get you caught up in a second, okay, Vincent? Okay. So, everyone should be following along with me. We're gonna be annotating this together. The Nile River forms in Khartoum, Sudan, at the meeting place of the White Nile and Blue Nile rivers. The White Nile provides the majority of the Nile's water. What I would do is highlight that first sentence, Blue and White Nile. At Cairo, the Nile fans out into its delta, a fertile area created by sediment from the river deposited as the river empties into the Mediterranean Sea. As the Nile flows north through Egypt, it creates a thin strip of fertile land along its banks. This green fertile land is in a sharp contrast to the barren desert on either side of the river valley. The flooding of the Nile River occurs in a cycle with 3 seasons, as shown on the table below. So, in this table, we have all of those seasons that we just talked about, and saw in the video, right? So, we have Akhet, Peret, and Shomuk. These are all the seasons that are based on the flooding of the Nile. So it's when it's flooded, when the water recedes, and when it's dry. So, what I'm going to say is we can do one gist for these 2 paragraphs. So, how about white and blue Nile meet in, ooh, that's too big. How about white and blue meet in Sudan? Sound good?
Sure.
Okay. In the spring, heavy tropical rains in Ethiopia flood the Nile at its source. These floodwaters moved north toward Egypt, carrying with them nutrient-rich soil, also called silt from the Ethiopian highlands. Ancient Egyptians called the Nile River Ar, or Ord, which means black for the color of the silt it carried. Every year, the Nile floods and silt-rich water flows over the floodplain, the flatland around the river. When the water recedes, the silt that it carried gets left behind on the land. These silt deposits enrich the soil that fills the Nile River Valley and Delta, making them very fertile. I'm going to highlight anyway. So, for this paragraph, so for this paragraph, who wants to volunteer to give me a little gist for this paragraph? The one about the heavy tropical rains in Ethiopia flooding the Nile. Does anybody have any ideas? How about let's think about flooding, silt, fertile. Yeah, Xander, what you got?
Nile flood.
Nile flood. Okay, that's a great start. So that's 2 words. We need 3 or 4 more words. So Nile flood. How about Nile flood create silt fertile?
Nile flood leaving fertile silt.
That's a better way to put it. Yeah, there we go. Nile flood leaving fertile silt. So there we go. We got it just for that paragraph now. Then for this one, let's see, it talks about floodwaters again, silt-rich water. Talks about the floodplain. Talks about the Nile River Valley and Delta. How about Nile River Valley very fertile? That's kind of what I'm getting from that, is because of all of that silt-rich water. Awesome. So now we have our annotations, we have our gist. So the very next thing that we do, we answer a question. Why was the Nile River important to Egypt? So the first thing that we do, go right under the question, we change our font color. And we add a sentence start. So you can do something like, from the reading I can infer, according to the text. The text states. Something along those lines. Then you rephrase the question. I can infer that the Nile River was important to Egypt because, and why was it important to Egypt? Yeah, Charlie.
Because it would provide, the silt for them when the river would flood, it would provide silt for them and they could grow the crops and it'd be alive.
It would be young, absolutely. Yeah, you have something to add to?
This provides water for them to drink once they make it.
Yeah, awesome. So it provides them with water, period. Water has plenty of uses. In and of itself, but also, just like Carly said, it brings that silt, which makes the soil really fertile. So it was important to Egypt because it provided water, resources, and silt. Which made the soil fertile for growing crops. So from the reading, I can infer that the Nile River was important to Egypt because it provided water resources and silt, which made the soil fertile for growing crops. That sounds like a pretty good answer? Yeah, I think that would get a 4. Carly, what's up?
You have to write what you put where,
If you would like to write your own thing, I will not knock you for it. Absolutely. I love when my students use their own brains. It's a beautiful thing. But I'm doing it with you just so you kind of know what I'm expecting and you know what I want. It's funny that you asked that though, because the next ones you're gonna do yourselves. So, now that we have done these together, and I've done some for you, now you guys are gonna do it. Okay, so I want you guys definitely work in pairs. That way you guys can read this together and do the assignment together. You're not doing it by yourself. If you'd like to work on it individually, that's your prerogative. But I would like you guys to work in pairs. Go through these next few couple of sections. This section's not very long. There's only 2 more sections. You're gonna annotate, give me your gist for each paragraph, and then you're gonna answer the questions just like we did this time. So you guys saw how I want you to answer them. I would like you guys to answer them like that, here. So you guys have the rest of the period to do this. This is due tomorrow. So I want you guys to finish the rest of this document for homework. Sound good? Are there any questions on what we're doing today?
Can you put it back up to where you wrote it?
Sure can.
There you go.
There you go, Vincent.
I'm not everyone that. Okay, you can go up to the. You go up to the.
Yes, I can. There you go, Vincent. So, any questions on what we're doing for the rest of class? Yeah,
I don't have a question about what we're doing for the rest of the class.
yes, you may. As long as you guys are not constructive and you're doing your work, I don't have a problem with that. Any other questions on what we're doing today? You guys all understand the direction, yeah? Alright, so you guys have the rest of the period to work on this. It is due for homework. So once you're done, turn it in. Sure, you have questions? Also, so
I guess that's
Senator this is. It's fine. You're welcome.
Okay, water. I love it.
No, what is correct? Oh, good. Are you guys, is there any confusion? You guys know what you're doing? It's for me. So not how like I have that supervisor that comes in and watches me. So today and Monday, instead of coming in to watch me, I have to send them to me. Exactly.
Hey guys, is there anything? On you guys have any?
But I didn't check, I did, I'm.
No,
No, I'm not my AirPods. Right.
Words that you understand the play. That's why the lake. Later. Yeah, a lot of okay, are you ready? What? I don't know, are you done? No, it's just
We're not even in.
already done with the first one.
Okay, so. Everybody pack their screens and look up here. A little aggressive there now. So, this week we started off by mapping out Egypt. And then we learned today a little bit more about the geography of Egypt and how the Nile really affected their lives. Like we learned in the videos, it literally changed the way that they thought about seasons. Guys, almost done. So, tomorrow, how we're gonna build on this is we're gonna learn about the economics of the Nile. So bodies of water, you'll learn pretty much all throughout history have made trade way easier because you can trade by boat. And so we'll learn more about how the Nile affected trade and the economics of Egypt tomorrow. But that will be built on or off of all of the geography work that we've done up until now. Sound good? Cool. All right. So you guys may pack up. What the bell rings? You're on this fix.
Anyways, there's this guy called. Ain't no way. I know it was there last time.
Hey, Carly. Thank you for including Betsy.
Yes, the weekends are gonna have.